Joining me now on set is the former Prime Minister of Poland, Mateusz Morawiecki. Mr. Prime Minister, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
It's an honor to have you here. I want to start off by getting your reaction to something that President Trump said. We'll play a little bit of sound. Get your reaction on the other side.
So I've been watching for years, and I've been watching him negotiate with no cards. He has no cards. And you get sick of it. You just get sick of it. And I've had it. So I don't think he's very important to be at meetings, to be honest with you. He's been there for 3 years. He makes it very hard to make deals. But look what's happened to his country. It's been demolished.
He's, of course, talking about President Zelensky of Ukraine. What is your reaction to hearing that, Mr. Prime Minister?
I think that this is a kind of negotiation tactics which President Trump as a deal maker can propose, and this is his prerogative, of course. In my opinion, it was, of course, President Putin and the Kremlin and Moscow which attacked Ukraine in a barbarian attack in February 2022. And nothing is going to change it. But I just believe that this first step in negotiations will lead to a good peace, not a bad peace, but a good peace. And a good peace for me is that there is a sovereign Ukraine after those negotiations. So
he has also of course, lashed out at President Zelensky, calling him a dictator. Of course, he was democratically elected. President Zelensky has not held elections, saying that there is a war going on. What do you make of that type of rhetoric? Does it undercut the chances that they will be able to reach a peace agreement in the near future?
I don't think so, but I also believe that it is quite usual in this very difficult predicament, this very difficult situation, that the countries which are partially occupied do not hold elections. And this happened not only in Ukraine, but also in many other countries. So again, I believe that this is the way how President Trump negotiates, and hopefully after all those trials and tribulations, difficult times ahead of us, there will be peace after all.
Well, hopefully there will be peace. I've been talking to sources familiar with the president's thinking. They say he's frustrated because President Zelensky did not sign that agreement, which would have given the United States access to 50% of Ukraine's rare earth minerals in exchange for security guarantees. Do you think, would you counsel President Zelensky to move forward to try to sign that agreement?
Definitely. Yeah, here I would be exactly on the same hymn sheet with President Trump, because I do believe that President Zelensky needs to understand that the United States has to be somehow involved in the Ukrainian matters, and no better way to connect Ukraine with the United States than through business, and rare earth metals is this type of business which is very much important, very important for the United States. So, yeah.
And the fact that those images that came out of Saudi Arabia this week, where you had U.S. officials meeting with Russian officials. Now they say, look, we're going to meet with Russian officials, then we're going to meet with Ukrainian officials. Then the hope is to get everyone to sit down at the table together. But are you concerned? President Zelensky, in his interview with me, said, look, we need to have a seat at the table. And the president shouldn't be negotiating with Zelensky's enemies before Zelensky. What do you make of the choreography and how these talks are going so far?
I think that the team around President Trump and President Trump himself knows best what kind of choreography should there be. I know that the trust of President Trump to President Zelensky is not exactly on the same level as it used to be prior to war and when the war started. I can tell you for me and for Poland, the most important outcome of all of those negotiations is that the sovereign Ukraine survives as a sovereign state, but I also have my own reservations about how President Zelensky treated us in 2023 after all what we have done to Ukraine and to President Zelensky with all the weapon delivery and our logistics hub, which was instrumental in delivering weapon. He was actually part of the agreement, let's put it like this, mildly, euphemistically, with the European Commission and with my predecessor and successor, Prime Minister Tusk. But I leave it aside. I'm not dealing with this because the most important outcome is a good peace after all.
Finally, let me just ask you about something that President Zelensky told me when I interviewed him last week. He said he has intelligence that shows that Russian troops, more than 100,000 of them, are amassing in Belarus. His concern, could he be potentially considering going into neighboring NATO nations? Do you have concerns about that? Do you have the same intelligence, Mr. Prime Minister?
We have to always be concerned about what's going to be the next step of President Putin. President Lech Kaczynski in 2008 in Tbilisi once said that Putin is attacking Georgia and then Ukraine and then maybe the Baltic states, and the next step could be my country, Poland. So unfortunately, he was dead right, and this is why we have to be vigilant. We have to spend at least 4 percentage points, 4.5 percentage points on defense, on military equipment. And it was my government, when I was Prime Minister, we have restructured our budget and we have dedicated more than 4.5% on defense. So we dedicate the highest figure on defense amongst all the NATO countries, percentage-wise, of course.
You do, and President Trump, of course, has called for that. Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. Really appreciate you joining us.
Thanks.
An honor to have you here.